Let's face it, when it comes to sportswear, logos are everywhere. Each of the types of combinations of placement, color, size, the type of logo that's being used is giving you a different effect. I mean, here's the question. As a startup activewear and sportswear brand, what is the right approach for you? This is exactly what I'm going to be covering in today's episode. I'm going to be looking at the different types of logos. So by the end of this episode, you'll walk away with a clear understanding of how to use logos and branding in your garments effectively. That way, the next time you come out with a collection, it hits and lands exactly how you want it to land. The first thing that we have to understand is that logos send a message to your consumers without actually saying words. When you have a big logo, you're saying, look at me. This is a statement piece. And ultimately, when you have a small logo, you might say, I'm premium, and effectively, I don't need to shout for attention. If you have a reflective logo, this might scream performance and functional identity. And if you have a tone-on-tone logo, this might speak quiet luxury or something that is a little bit more subtle and under the radar. A logo tells people what your brand is about before you even have to say it. So it comes down to you as a founder, what and how you are being clear about your brand and what kind of energy you're trying to bring through the garments and through how you brand and how you apply graphics to the garments. Now let's look at the classic case of the word mark versus the icon logo. Typically you would use a word mark and you want to have that brand awareness. You want people to be able to know what the brand name of your product. Typically this is also going to work better on garments where there's more room to actually punch up the size of the lettering. This can be things like hoodies, sweatshirts, joggers, and t-shirts in general. The second type of logo is going to be your icon logo. This is going to be the symbol of the brand. Whereas with Nike, we have the swoosh as the icon logo. This is typically better for more established brands that people understand. Having an icon there transcends boundaries because it's not related to a culture. It's not related to a specific language or a specific alphabet. They're also great when you don't have enough room on the garments and you need something small and compact. These can be things like leggings and sports bras. For founders that are looking to get into the space, it's always great to start off with at least a word mark, if not a combination of a word mark and an icon. The reason that you may want to use a combination is the word mark lets people know who you are, and then they associate your name with the logo. Where you put your logo really gives the effect or a different desired effect depending on what you're looking at. We'll look at the most common placements for logos on those garments. Starting off with, if you have the chest placement, this typically tends to be best on hoodies and t-shirts. It's typically very bold and extremely visible. Next, you might have the center back of the waistband, which is always great on leggings, biker shorts, and actually sports bras. This is small, it's clean, and it's subtle, and it gives you a very light and airy appearance. Next up, you have the large placement down the side of the leg or on the back of the calf. Typically tends to be large. This is very sporty, and it's typically a little bit more of a riskier move than some of the more subtle and minimal placements that I mentioned. On the back of the calf or near the hemline, whether it's on the bottom of the cuff or in the wrist cuff or the bottom of the ankle hemline, this tends to be much more quiet and much more lifestyle oriented. It's very simple, it's straightforward, and it's just there. So a simple rule that I'd recommend you guys follow is the higher up on the garment the branding is, and the more towards the front of the garment it is, the more visible it's going to see since it's going to be closer to the eye. You might want to use large logos in the front and towards the top if you want to be noticed. But if you want to have a more minimalist, simple, quiet luxury aesthetic, you might want to opt for smaller logos that are placed lower on the garment. Now, let's talk about the size of the logos, because this can be the easiest way to mess up a aesthetic of a garment. If you have an icon logo that's on the left chest and it's too large, and I see this all the time, that also makes it feel like the actual move wasn't intentional. First, we'll look at the t-shirt and the hoodie placement for a chest logo. Let's just say we're using an icon logo. A great size on the chest might be something around 2.5, 3.5 inches tall. And if it's a word mark, it might be around 3.5 to around 4 inches wide for a small icon logo. If you want something that's a little bit larger to create a bold statement, you might want to go for something around 12 to 14 inches. And it depends as well. If you have a larger garment like a hoodie, you could definitely go up to like 18, 20, depending on how oversized the garment is and how wide the graphic placement is. Next, we'll look at leggings and biker shorts. If you have a waistband logo, this can be something around an inch wide, an inch to an inch and a half. Anything bigger than that just looks super weird and super cheap. For a word mark logo, something between 2.5 to 3.5 inches. And if you want something that is a large, you might opt for something around 15 inches wide. For sports bras, if you want to have an icon logo, whether it's on the front definitely around 0.875 to like 1.25. If you want to have it on the back of the waistband, it'll obviously depend on the size of the waistband, but again, 0.875 to like 1.25 inches wide for the icon logo may work perfectly. For the word mark, maybe on the front of the waistband, that could be around 2.5 to 3.5 inches wide, and same thing for the back of the waistband. One thing that you definitely need to note is that the sizing of the logo actually really depends on the garment that you're putting it on. Now let's look at the color choices. When you have a high contrast color choice, this can be something like, you have a red logo on a black garment, or the typical white logo on a black garment. This gives you immediately an eye-catching appearance. It's athletic, it's bold, and it's extremely contrasty. This is effective for gym-focused apparel where performance is going to be key. Next, you have your tone on tone. These can be things like your black on black, gray on gray, or it can even be black with like a lighter shade of black. But in general, it all falls within the same of tone on tone, which means minimal, quiet, luxury, premium. It gives you more of a refined look. Next, we have our functional logos. This just screams functionality, visibility. It's a great way to actually drive a sense of sportiness to the garment. And then lastly, you have your metallic or your glossy finishes. It's more trendy, it's more fashion focused. So this can be great for a streetwear brand or a sporty brand that has a streetwear edge to it. So if it came down to it, a pro tip would be definitely consider using contrast logos on your staple activewear pieces. So I can help you guys contextualize this. Let's look at 4 different examples of branding. Leggings, for example. We have on the center back of the waistband, let's just say 1 inch wide actual icon logo. This is going to be super subtle. It's going to give you an elevated look and a premium look. Next up, you might have a performance short. Maybe we're putting the logo down the side of the leg. It's large. It's around, let's just say 8 to 9 inches wide, and it's a word mark. So it's very, very visible. It has high contrast. It's bold, it's sporty, and it's gym focused. Then we might have a sports bra. We might have it a small icon. Maybe it's on the center back of the waistband. It's 0.875 inches wide. This gives you the idea of a practical, simple, toned down yet functional, performance oriented garment. Now lastly, you might have an oversized hoodie with a 20 inch. This is going to give you a contrasting and a streetwear aesthetic to the garment. So guys, to wrap it up, here's the actual truth, is that the logos that you use in your garments should be intentional. Every single element of, whether it's the word mark, whether it's the icon, the size, the placement, the type of color, the type of contrast that you use, has a huge impact on how the product is perceived. You're literally training and teaching your customers how to think about your brand and how to think about your products through these subtle and intentional moves that you made. If you guys are curious on what my take is, maybe you have a next collection coming up and you want my personal opinion, I do offer one-on-one consultation calls. I do have limited slots every single week, but if you did want to apply to work with me, you can check the link in the description and you can apply to work with me on there. So guys, I always say this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fit Design TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.